What I'm going to walk you through is overall what our CO2 extraction system offerings are, and what basically, the range of systems we offer, and, our key differentiators in terms of the other players out there. Now, to preface, basically, cybernetic and has been, in the CO2 extraction space for about 12 years now. Before cannabis, became the buzzword, we were mainly into a lot of flavors and fragrances, phytochemicals, a lot of herbal extracts, and these sort of products, coffee extraction, etc. Since the cannabis boom came in, our focus has now, since the last few years, diverted towards the cannabis space. And what we offer here is, technologically as well as cost-wise much more superior than what's out there. Like I said, what we offer is everything from a pilot scale up to a production scale system. What you see in the photo is our production scale 300-liter system. We manufacture everything as per GMP norms. So in terms of this is actually in our factory acceptance test area, but you have everything segregated between a clean area where your actual raw material and your oils are extracted and where your raw material is put in. You have a technical area where you have, all the condensers and the chillers and the pumps with oil, etc. And then the utility area where you have, say, your boilers and your condensing units, etc., which are typically located outside your factory. This is a stark difference from a lot of other people, what they are claiming to be as GMP, because they have just one scale. And ideally, in a GMP facility, you need this clean distinction between these sort of operating areas. So an operator in a clean area doesn't go into the technical and vice versa. What we do is, like I said, completely as per GMP guidelines. What you see in your image is all our extractors. So all our extractors and our entire system has stainless steel 316 contact parts and stainless steel 304 non-contact parts. We have a lot of redundant safety systems. That means if you have any sort of overpressurization, your pumps will stop. You have automatic pressure safety relief valves. Even if that doesn't happen, basically in terms of your extractors, nothing can open until you vent the entire system out. So you have multiple levels of safety, including you have a lot of sort of operators, supervisors, administrators having different sort of access levels to the system. So no one can come in and just increase the pressure or change a process parameter. All this complying to what GMP mandates. You need to have a recording of whatever change has happened. Anyone can't do anything, etc. What we basically say in terms of our systems, which are different from what the others have, is in terms of, first, you have a very robust process control. You have two critical parameters which are important for a good extraction. One is the maintenance of consistent pressure and temperature of extraction. And second is the maintenance of a good flow rate. Most of the other suppliers from the US will basically control the pressure and flow rate, which are dependent on each other. That means if you reach your pressure or go above the set pressure, you'll have some sort of a pressure relief valve, which will reduce the pressure, and then the pump is responsible for increasing the pressure again. In our systems, basically, the flow rate and your pressure work independently. That means you have a servo-actuated pressure regulator that's controlling your pressure, and your flow rate, which is controlling your pump, which is controlling your flow rate based on a mass flow meter. So these two are very important, and they are maintained independently. Second is basically extended system durability. What this implies is that CO2 is a very corrosive solvent. Means the same way that it extracts plant material, it also corrodes all your seals, all your gaskets, any sort of sealings that you all are using. So normal rubber seals or O-rings will never work, which a lot of other people use. We've actually developed special seals which are, non-elastomeric or elastomeric seals which expand and take the shape of your vessel as the pressure increases. What this helps with is basically ensuring that you have a minimum downtime due to, the breakdown of the machine or breakdown of sealing or maintenance and etc. That's the second main advantage we have over a lot of systems out there. Third is basically integrated intelligence. That means apart from the GMP requirements in terms of having a SCADA system, having a PLC control, recipe management, data logging, change logs, we actually have a lot of remote monitoring using tablets. You can actually have all your documentation, your SOPs for maintenance through training videos, which we offer on this tablet app. And so everything is at your fingertips, and you don't have to, depend on us every time something goes wrong or every time you need to change something. On top of this, we've actually tried to make the system more sort of what I call it 21st century. So you have a lot of preventive notice, preventive maintenance sort of notifications coming as push notifications, and you don't need to refer to some sort of a manual which is kept in a cupboard in your maintenance locker, but you actually have everything coming as push notifications. That really helps you. Fourth thing is a lot of a guaranteed safety. That means we comply with all global norms like CE certifications. You've got ASME certified pressure vessels. So all your vessels that are manufactured, or the safety critical elements, are built as per a lot of global statutory norms, which ensure you have a inherently safe product. Finally, you've got a lot of customization possible in terms of if you have a change in layout, if you don't want to use, say, a certain PLC system, but you want to go with Siemens because your local distributor of Siemens is better, we can change that for you. So we're not trying to fit a sort like a square peg in a round hole, but you will customize the system as per what you need. Like I said, so pilot scale to production scale. So what you see here is overall a pilot scale system where you have, 2 extractors, you've got your back pressure regulators, you've got your separators. Like what you see is we've got a very unique separator design where even if you have very high resinous products, you can actually detach the entire separator bottom so you can collect the oil much easier. You've got a lot of redundant safety in your extractor. So if you want to open an extractor cap, you need to, release the entire pressure in, and only then the valve will, or the sort of extractor will open. And then you've got your servo controlled pressure regulators, which ensure a very accurate pressure control. Then over to your production plant. One good thing is what we normally always propose to our clients: go with our 5 liter and then with our 100 liter or 200, because they're absolutely identical to operate. The user interface is identical. The performance is similar within basically 2% variation. And so you can actually reduce your vertical startup time and, de-risk the entire CapEx process by going with a smaller plant, getting a feel of the plant, getting a feel of the market, selling your product, sampling it out, and then scaling up. So all of these are basically our production scale systems in terms of you got your extractor caps with a special sealing technology, our pumps, which are again identical to our smaller pumps, just triple X instead of single plungers, our separators, which have detachable bottoms, as well as valves to remove the oils, and a separation between your utility skids and your main extraction skids. Now, in terms of getting down into certain deep diving in certain technical aspects of why our systems are better, in terms of for our separate extractors, we have a quick closure mechanism which reduces your changeover time to less than about 10-15 minutes. So from unloading a bag to reloading it to closing it and making it safe to use, you can do it within 15 minutes. We use these food grade polypropylene bags instead of baskets, so they're easier to maintain. You have a cheaper sort of bag you can just put into a washing machine, clean it and use it again. So you don't have a basket to maintain, you don't damage it, etc. You've got stainless steel 316 construction, which is all as per GMP and food grade. And then safety redundancy through coded sensors. So you can't, put one extractor cap on the other because these are all coded. So to ensure sort of a safety integrity. Then you have a pump, which basically you have a triplex pump for the bigger plants and a single plunger pump for the smaller. You can operate it within sort of variable speeds to sort of ensure you can control the residence time that your solvent sees with your product. We have a complete flow meter, mass flow meter based control. So you can ensure that you are passing the solvent at the desired flow rate through the biomass, and you get a feedback of that. And then finally, you've got a very robust sealing technology that ensures your pump is not going down into maintenance every week or every 2 weeks, but you have basically a preventive maintenance schedule, like I said, through an app, and that will tell you, okay, every 3 months you need to change over the valve. You say you changed it, and that gets logged, so your supervisor can also maintain it. Then the back pressure regulation, you've got a servo controller that controls the pin position. So you can actually electronically control the back pressure rather than going through some sort of a pneumatic way or through some sort of a passive technology, which causes a much more large variance in the pressure control. Finally, the user interface, which is what a lot of the operators will be mainly dealing with. We've basically got it specially designed using a lot of UI UX sort of principles for sort of minimum number of clicks, minimum sort of control or navigation through this sort of user interface. And you have an identical user interface for the smallest and the biggest plant. So you have a lesser learning time when you run a big plant. And again, like I said, you've got a remote app through your tablet, which we give the clients. You've got a monitoring, documentation, preventive maintenance, all through this app. And finally, the safety systems, which are very important in these plants. You've got ASME certified, you've got overall redundant safe systems, you have multi-level system access to ensure no one has access to everything. And you've got alerts and data logging. So in terms of, you can monitor the entire process on your tablet sitting far away through just an IP address. And overall, in terms of our product range, we offer something ranging from what we call level 1 systems up to level 3 systems. Level 1 systems can again be customized between 2 to 3 extractors. Level 2 can be the same and level 3 the same. And what we share with clients is basically a ROI calculation, which actually Yogesh had showed you earlier, where you can say that, okay, what would be the plant and what would be the campaigns you can run. So a 5-liter system can maybe run about 20 kilos per 2 shifts. A 25-liter or a 50-liter can run up to 40 kgs per shift or 50 kgs per shift. And a 100-liter can run up to about 200 kgs per shift. So you can actually propose to clients different sort of systems based on what they need, what their sort of overall annual consumption is going to be, how many days they're going to be running it. And you can do this back calculation and to say, okay, this is the plant we would recommend to. And this is again, more or less a spec sheet. For a lot of our high value algae customers or herbal extracts, we offer also high pressure systems up to 650 bars, not normally required for cannabis, but maybe for algae or some sort of a high value herbal extract that works. You have differences in terms of all our level 2, level 3 are completely automatic, and level 1 systems are semi-automatic systems. So you can, reduce your capex for the clients. And then you've got a variable flow control, using your VFDs. So this is a sort of a spec sheet that we give. This is sort of what we normally walk our clients through in terms of the technical specifications. Typically, this is what we do as an intro sort of a call with a client to walk them through the technical aspects. We'll also share with them mainly our ROI sheets, which have been built as per the American markets. But what we do for the South African markets or the American markets or the European markets is that based on the customer's sort of desired retail product, the raw material cost, we'll actually run a calculation for them so that they can get a good feel of what the ROIs are going to be on this plant or whichever plant they choose to go with. So this is a sort of a presentation that we give. Doctor, if you have any specific questions, I can answer them. Or so this is what we normally show a client at a first go.
All right. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I have a few questions. Yeah. Okay, so you talked about, okay, at the moment you don't know what the startup or setup costs would be like on the African continent. Where would you be shipping this from?
So this will be shipped from India.
From India, okay. Do you have an idea of the weight of these things, or because I think maybe what we'll need to do is get some CIF costs maybe based on weight and package.
Yeah, so typically the 5-liter plant is about 2.5 tons, and then again with the bigger plants it's much more than that. But yeah, I think getting CIF costs makes sense. We can do that because we have regular exports, so we have an export team that can get these details for us for sure.
Okay, and then where have you got them installed? Sometimes clients want to talk to people who've actually had these installed.
Yeah, so in the US mainly, in terms of right now, like I said, next week I'm going and we'll have a system or 2 systems installed in a company called Vapor Maven in Oklahoma. And other than that, we've got systems installed in like North Carolina, in Las Vegas. And then in India, we have a lot, but they are mainly not in the cannabis space, but there are a lot in the flavors, fragrances. Some of the largest fragrances companies like Firmenich, which is a Swiss company, is our client. We've got Himalaya, which is one of the biggest herbal medicine company, that's our client. So let me just actually show you some of the GMP systems also. So this also gets recorded. Just a second. So then we have also a lot of, essential oil manufacturers in Indonesia, in India that are using our systems. And they go all with like a 5-liter system along with like a 100-liter system.
Okay.
Just one second. Yeah. So can you see my screen?
Not yet. No. Yeah. Now. Yeah. Okay.
So for example, this is our 10-liter by 2 with at 650 bar. So this is a plant that we had put for Himalaya. This is again a complete GMP facility. So you've got 2 extractors, 3 separators, which are in the clean area. And then the technical area is more of, all the condensers, CO2 tanks, the superheaters, super chillers, and that is normally placed in the technical area. So, you have a clear distinction between these 2 areas, and an operator in one area doesn't go into the other. So you've got a user interface, which is also in this technical area as well as in the clean area. So this is some sort of an installation we have, for GMP facilities.
So, okay. So when you say technical area, what do you mean in clean area?
Clean area means basically where your product is handled. So any sort of API, when it's being handled, it should not be exposed to anything, like oils, like any sort of a chilling liquid, like a glycol or something. So the clean area will have basically complete stainless steel construction. You don't have any sort of a non-API product that will be in this area. Operators will need to be in their PPE. They'll have to have passed through a decool route.
So Yeah, okay. So the technical area is like the back end.
Exactly. The technical area is where, you know, your maintenance guys are.
Yeah, okay. No, okay. That's, yeah. Then talking about the issue around maintenance, it always comes up. What, how would one maintain these systems? What kind of training is required for
So
maintenance?
what we do is basically, I'll just show you again. Now what we've done is we've got complete SCFE training videos. So for example, you've got a, if you can see my screen.
Yes, I see the video. Yeah.
So you've got a complete video which we share with step-by-step processes of what needs to be done.
Okay.
So this is what we share by default with all our clients, and we give them obviously a a complete with what tools are required. When we install it, we give a complete detailed training on what needs to be done. And you know, these guys, the videos are completely self-explanatory. All the tools required for the maintenance are also with the video or with the system. We give 1 year consumables free along with our system. So, you know, you don't, the first year, you get a good feel of what is required to, you know, run the system or maintain the system. So the year 2 onwards, you can then say, okay, my consumption of the seals were about 2 per year. So I don't need to keep about 15. I just need maybe 5. So that way you can, you know, plan your consumption.
Okay, well, that's great. Then let me ask about the CO2. So is this air being sucked in and then purified to a level of CO2?
No. So basically, when you are actually running the plant, you are actually buying food grade CO2. So the food grade CO2 is supplied by companies like, say, Praxair or Linde. And these basically will supply food grade CO2 to you. And if you have larger plants, they'll put up a sort of a CO2 tower in your facility. For the smaller plants, you'll actually buy it from local vendors.
Like a tank, CO2 tank.
Exactly. Like, you know, what are connected to those soda dispensing machines.
Yes, yes.
So, or a beer kegerator or something, you know, is connected to a CO2 tank. And this then is basically, we also have a CO2 recovery system in our plant. So it's recovered and then stored back into our tank. So you can minimize your usage of CO2.
Okay, interesting. And then in terms of train, yeah, okay, Lefa, you can ask.
So sorry for disturbing. How long does this CO2 last in the machine?
Yeah, so this basically depends on whether you're changing batches or not. So if you're running the same batch, you will have what you'll do is once you run a batch, you run the so basically you equalize the system so you can actually remove the material from a certain extractor, and at that point your CO2 is at 60 bar, and with it has a density of about you can assume about 900 kg per meter cube. So at that you are basically losing something like about 5 liters. But with our CO2 recovery system, you can bring it down to maybe 10 bar. So you are losing less than about 500 grams of CO2 per batch. So overall, when you are running the plant, you may be able to run it continuously and just top it up every day with, say, a differential 1 kg or 1.5 kilos. So a certain 15 kilos of CO2 with our system will run you maybe about, or a certain tank that you buy can run you maybe 2 to 3 days by just topping up and assuming certain loss of CO2 while opening, closing, etc.
Okay, interesting. Right, and then you were talking about the different systems. So and you put literage in there. Is that an output or is that an input literage or volume?
Yeah. So in any of these basically agro processing systems, normally always the specifications are in input, because you can't actually guarantee the output because the raw material may not have the output or may not have that much of oil. So when I say liters, it basically symbolizes the volume of the extractor. So if I say it's a 25 liter by 3, it implies that each extractor column has a 25 liter usable capacity, and we are giving you 3 extractors of such volume.
Okay, I'm trying to get that because isn't your biomass solid?
Yeah. So then what you have to do is, so that's where the sort of size capacity calculation comes in. So if I say, like, let's run through a use case of wanting to run 100 kilos per shift, where a shift is 8 hours. Now, if I say 100 kilos per shift, assuming 8-hour shift and 2 hours batch time, I need to process basically 25 kilos per batch, because you have 4 batches that will happen in 8 hours, each being 2 hours batches. So 25 times 4, 100 kilos. So assuming 25 kilos is my required processing capacity, I will normally assume a bulk density of about 400 to 500 kg per meter cube. Why I do this is basically, when I take my raw material, I will first dry it and then pass it through a grinder that brings it down to basically 16 to 24 mesh, which is about 1 to 1.5 mm of basically particle size distribution. Typically, we talk in terms of mesh because that you can never ensure 100% 1 mm sort of a thing, but the mesh size basically gives you a good understanding. 16 to 24 mesh gives you about 400 to 500 kg per meter cube bulk density, which is basically your packing density. So if I'm talking about 25 kilos at about 500 kilo per meter cube, I would need a 50 liter vessel to handle this sort of capacity, assuming a 500 kilo per meter cube capacity. And that's how I'll say that for such a requirement, I would need a 50 liter with a 2 extractor capacity, because then when I'm running extractor 1, I'm loading extractor 2. And when I'm running extractor 2, I'm loading extractor 1. So does that sort of make it clear?
Yeah, I think it does. Okay, so I see. So you're not running these extractors in parallel. You're almost running them in series. Yeah. Okay.
No. So when you go with a 2 extractor system, you're always running it in isolation, because you're loading one while you're running the other. And when you go with a 3 extractor system, you are running it in series. So if you're loading extractor 1, you are running 2 and 3 in series. If you're loading 2, you're running 2, 3 and 1 in series, etc. in that way.
Okay. So I got asked a question, but I gave an answer. So in terms of waste, so after extraction, what do you do with the waste product?
It's basically animal feed, fertilizer. That's what it's used.
Okay, well, that's fine. Is there such a thing as EU GMP, CGMP, or GMP's GMP?
No, there is. Basically, they are all developed based on US FDA norms. I mean, everyone has their slight variations, but the strictest of them all is US. So US FDA 21 CFR, that is Code of Federal Regulations, Title 21 CFR. They basically mandate what a pharmaceutical facility should be like. And our equipment mainly has to comply with 21 CFR Part 11, which is for computer system validation, which means that all your data logging, your recipe management, your tamper-proof sort of PLC system, ensuring that it doesn't hang or doesn't, give faulty data, that is covered under 21 CFR Part 11. Then you have equipment validation, which is covered under 21 CFR Part 210 and 211. This basically specifies that there will be something called a URS, which a customer says that I want this equipment to satisfy X, Y, Z requirements should have A, B, C compliances and should perform in certain sort of ways. That becomes a basis of your design qualification, your FAT, that is factory acceptance test, your installation qualification, which is IQ, your operation qualification, which is OQ, and your performance qualification, which is PQ. This is 21 CFR for US FDA. For EU GMP, they have the same thing, but in different semantics, which is Annexure 11, which was for computer systems, and Annexure 15, which is for equipment validation. Now, Australia has the same thing in a different way. Health Canada has it in a different way, but they're all broadly the same. They just need changes in their documentation.
Yeah, but that's why I was saying GMP is GMP, because at the end of the day, it's really about man, machines, manuals, isn't it?
Exactly. To be honest, finally, the problem with all this documentation is people forget to look at the equipment in terms of, whether your surfaces are non-leaching, whether your surface finish has lesser than, 0.4 micron roughness levels, that are mirror finished, what we call it, whether it's completely washed down, whether you're not having exposed threadings. These are the important parts of it, but these need to then be specified in your URS. So we've had clients before where they don't specify, you should not have XYZ things, which they don't validate. And then it's a problem with the US FDA. The US FDA will never tell you what to do. They will put a framework under which you have to figure out what you need to do. So if you can actually prove to them that I am using a mild steel vessel with a surface coating like what glass-lined reactors are, then they will also approve that. It's something that we need to prove to them.